Welcome back to the channel, guys. In this video I will be showing you how you can use Microsoft's APIs, for example Microsoft Management API or the REST-based Microsoft Graph API to automate certain things that otherwise would have been a challenge using existing technologies or services like PowerShell or the GUI. Uh, First, I will be using their own tool, which is called Microsoft Graph. So let's go to the Microsoft Graph. I'll show you what I'm talking about here. I'm sure people who have been working with Office 365, Microsoft 365, and Azure stuff do know about this thing. It's just called Graph API Explorer. So it's gonna search for that, and that comes up there. So this is the Microsoft Graph Explorer, which just gives you like an interface where you can just go ahead, sign in with your global admin account. So right now I'm signed in with my global administrator account for a test Microsoft 365 tenant. I have used this test tenant multiple times in my previous videos. This is basically something Microsoft gives you for learning purposes or for trial, and that's what this is. And in this Graph Explorer, I am signed in with an account which has global admin privilege. Basically, global admin is a root account which has like highest access you can have. So that's what I'm signed in here with, and this is the interface, which is again called Graph Explorer. So I'm just gonna quickly demonstrate you how you can use APIs to get data which otherwise would have been done through the GUI. So for example, let's take the most simplest thing, which you won't be using an API for, since there is a GUI for it. And the thing I'm gonna take an example here is, let's say you want to list all the users in your M365 tenant. So the best way to do that would be just logging into the portal.microsoft.com with an account that has privilege or the role to be able to list all the users in that tenant. Again, I'm signed in with the GA just to make things simpler, but there are other roles that could be used to list all the users. So back to what we were doing. So I'm gonna log in, get to the Microsoft Admin Center, and expand this, and there it is. All the users in my tenant is right there. Now you can also use PowerShell to get list of all the users. You can use MSO service. You can use Exchange Online service because it's also connected to a mailbox. But anyways, you can use GUI, you can use PowerShell, but there's another way you can use or get that data, and that is through the APIs. Microsoft has a couple of APIs to do that job. They previously had something called Office 365 Management API, and now they have unified all the APIs under one, which is called a Graph API. So nowadays, even the PowerShell modules are using the Graph API. So if I just search Graph API here, uh, this is the document for it. It tells you how you can call the API, and it's REST based, which is good because it's following a standard. It's following a standard which is called REST, and it's a web-based API. So yeah, you can go through this here. If you're not familiar with the Graph API by Microsoft, or if you haven't heard of that yet, if you don't know what API is, I would recommend checking out this video on YouTube. So I'll just quickly show you that too. Oh, it just popped up. So yeah, this is the API for beginners 2023, and I went through it. It's a 3-hour long course, but this guy, not this one, this guy, he's pretty good at explaining it from the scratch, like from the start. As the video says, it's for beginners, so it's pretty useful. He uses in his demonstration, he uses Spotify, uh, and how to use API to get the data from Spotify or update things. So please check that out. But going back to what I was talking about, was this Graph Explorer. So Graph Explorer again is a web-based tool that lets you use the APIs by Microsoft. Again, this tool is for free. You can go to it just by searching for this link. Uh, but going back to what I was saying, listing all the users. So we'll list all the users in my tenant. Again, I am signed in with my global admin account, and I'm just gonna modify this here and just run the query, and there we go. The response was 200, which is what we would like to see from the server, and now it's listing all the users. That's Adele, Alex, Diego. If I go to the GUI, you can see that's Adele, Alex, Diego. So basically, it's pretty powerful. The response is in JSON format, which is, again, if you're familiar with API, that's what the response usually are in JSON. And the response is what you use and what you deal with. That is what you manipulate to get the things you want to do with. So yeah, that's just a quick demonstration on the Graph Explorer, how to use this tool given to us by Microsoft. We just made our first GET request using the version 1 of the Graph API, and also just saw the results here, compared that to our GUI tenant. And in the next video, I will show you a real life project which I had been working on, where I would use API to get the audit logs for a SharePoint site. So if I show you the SharePoint site that I will be demonstrating in the next video, is if I go to the SharePoint admin portal here, again under the test tenant, and go to active sites, let's see, I'm gonna pick this site, test. I just called it test, and it's a SharePoint Teams site, and that's how you can get to it. So basically what I will be doing is I will be using API to just see or to get logs for any activity, if that's uploading a new document, someone deleted a document, someone changed the permission of a folder, all those kind of logs, audit logs, that could be requested by a manager or someone who is doing an auditing of a site, could be useful. We will be getting all that information using the Microsoft's Graph API, and it is pretty powerful if you use the API with the other automation tool to get the reports periodically. I don't think there is any GUI settings or any tool in GUI that could do that for you. So yeah, that is why we are leveraging API to get that results every week. So that's going to be the next video on how I have that set up. And yeah, thanks for watching.